All right. Hey, thanks for coming down. It's a great day to be able to actually speak on behalf of USA Track and Field. What a great 9 days. Great sessions. One more to go. We're at 27 medals and likely to break the record number of medals at a World Championship. Our athletes have been phenomenal. U.S. athletes have been phenomenal, and I couldn't be more excited to make a couple of comments about that. So fire away with questions.
Why have they been phenomenal?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think first of all, you start with the athletes. The athletes are we have talented athletes. They work hard. They have great personal coaches who often are really stuck in the background, and they have been front and center here. They're front and center at the Olympic Games. I think that they have the support from the national governing body, from USA Track and Field. There's been a lot of research that has been done as to what that data is that allows them to be able to perform at the highest level. So it's been great. I think we've been knocking on the door for a long time, and I think that we have, not only do we have the medals in our usual areas, we have medals in other areas as well. A la Mason Finley in the discus, great beginning, with the great finish and the 1-2 in the steeplechase, the dominating again, winning both hundreds and going 1-2 in the men's 100. Great, just overall, I think that if you take a look at all the things that have gone into what has provided our team with all the tools to get it done, I think this has been a really great confluence of lots of positive things that have happened.
Vin, can you comment specifically about the contribution that the women made to the medal count for Team USA and how America's really turned into the sports development country for women and how USATF supports that?
Well, I think that the question really, I would say that obviously, from my perspective, I think that it may be our biggest asset for our entire sport is our athletes, and I think if you take a subset of that, I think our women are phenomenal. And if you take a look at what sport do in the United States, are women so dominant on the global stage, and this is it. And I also think, and I'll take it a step further, I also think we can do a way better job at promoting that, because that is something that's really special, and I do think that we have missed the boat on that quite a bit. So it's a really great question, and 100% fantastic. Women have been great.
Because track and field is really the only sport where women share the field of play with men at the same time, are roughly paid equally, and get equal billing. In cycling, they've been left in the dust, completely second-class citizens. Are you particularly proud of that, having contributed to that?
Yeah, I am proud of it, and I'm proud of the fact that I think that it's the one, I think between track and field and swimming, I think there is an appreciation for women's performance regardless of how it compares to a men's performance. And I think that people can be just as excited about Tori Bowie winning the women's 100 as they can with Justin Gatlin winning the men's 100. It's or Emma Coburn winning the steeplechase, and looking at Evan Jaeger. I think that they appreciate those events the same, and that's been something I think has been really missing in the sport for a long time.
Are there things that we can do differently? I mean, high school participation rates are pretty much the same, I think, and obviously university. Going up. So I'm just asking you to elaborate what we can do better for women.
Well, I think first of all, if you take a look at not only our I'll probably go off on a tangent here for a second, but I do think that for those of you who know me, and I think all of you probably know me, and that is I've been a strong proponent of an increase in scholarships at the NCAA level for the sport of track and field, and in particular for women's track and field. 18 scholarships is not the right number for women's track and field when we're adding all of these other sports. And I do think that we take the sport, take a look at the composition, the demographics of our men and women in the sport of track and field, and it should be something that the NCAA takes a really hard look at. And I realize it's going to cost, as a senior level administrator at the University of Oregon, I know that that's a big nut to crack, and that is the financial side of it. But it's the right thing to do. And sometimes you just have to do the right thing.
Is there anything from this meet that you will incorporate or build off of that you've seen that you like that will help make that 2021 World Championships in Eugene better and have this sort of fan support?
Yeah, it's a good question. To be honest with you, I think the combination of the local organizing committee here, the UK Athletics, the City of London, they've done a phenomenal job. And what they've done is they've created an outstanding atmosphere in the stadium. And I think that the people who are coming to this event, I'm not sure that they're all track and field fans, but they're all fans of a great experience, and that's what we have to work on in the United States, is making sure when you go to a track meet, it's not just about the event, just like a football game is not just about a football game. I don't know how many real fans there actually are in a football stadium, but I think for here, we're looking really hard at what they've done. We've already had many meetings. We have a big staff that's here, and we've looked at everything that London has done, and we won't be London, but we will take from it a lot of the things, and in particular how they fill the stadium and creating the buzz around it.
Vin, with both gone, obviously all the federations of the world have to promote more individual efforts to let the public know who these stars are. What will USA Track and Field try to do to promote its individual athletes?
Well, USA Track and Field probably does a better job than most federations does, and I think that we've already started that process. And I think that if you take a look at any of our athletes that actually do well and come through a mixed zone, I'm really impressed with the stories they have to tell, and we have to get those stories out there. There are some really great stories that our athletes have that are not necessarily tied to their athletic performance. And in the past, I think everybody's taken the assumption that the athletes don't want to tell that story, or they're somewhat reticent about speaking about their own personal experiences. And I think that that's just not true. And I think that we have great athletes, we have great stories, and I think that we just need to tell them better and more and more often. And I think that we'll find that the athletes are happy to promote themselves.
With all due respect to everyone standing here, how concerned are you that the major dailies in the United States, by and large, did not send writers to this championship?
And even to the U.S. championships.
Yeah.
Well, I think I can't speak to the to what the media does on a national level, or even a global level for that matter. But I do think part of that is not just the media's thing. We have to put a good product out there, and I think just having great athletes is not good enough. And I think that what we have here is something spectacular. We have a great track meet, a great athletic contest, but on its own, that just isn't enough to fill stadiums and to create it to be a national story.
I'm also going to answer that in part. I think you have to be careful. That's not so much a reflection on the sport as it is a reflection on the state of the media in the U.S. as it currently exists, both with space and economics and everything else. So it's not
Agreed.
one or
My
the other.
question is, how concerned are you about it?
Well, it's obviously concerning, and in particular, I'm concerned as we look at our national championships, more so than I am at the World Championships. I think that I look at it that we did have a small number of media at our national championships this year, and we just have to be able to create an event that is worthy of covering. And I think it's kind of a combination. I don't know that it's a reflection just on the media. I think I would agree that it is a reflection on what product we put out there.
We had a small number of traditional print media, but increasingly the way people consume sport and our sport is not through newspapers. I actually taught a sports journalism class last year, and I asked my class after the Final Four, where did you read about this? And it was on Deadspin and on they had a couple others. No one read the New York Times or AP, with all due respect to anyone who's here. So it's really about alternative platforms. People are on social and they're doing video, and you guys are all shooting video too.
In this siloed media environment, how do you take the sports fan that doesn't know anything about track and field and convert them into a fan of our sport?
We did some stuff with ESPN here. This sport was on SportsCenter far more during this championships, in part because of Bolt, but it was on there, but it provided an opportunity to tell other stories. So you take Jesse Washington from ESPN. He wrote this column about how everyone needs to watch this race. It was maybe the greatest race ever. He had an audience of mainstream sports fans, and he turned it around to explain why they should watch track and field. But go back to Vin now. We can have a media conversation. Let's talk about our team and our medals and everything.